Ubisoft gave a presentation for, I think, their shareholders recently, and this is a thread on NeoGAF. Somebody posted this report. You can see it in the show notes, but they basically said that the four main publishers benefited the most from the current barrier to entry in the console space. So what that means is that for the mid-tier developers, it's been getting increasingly difficult to get into gaming because of rising costs. And for EA, Ubisoft, Take-Two, and Activision, this has been actually working out very well for them because they sort of have this. They have the AAA market on lockdown. With the big, especially Ubisoft, they boast about their ability to churn out open world games on a yearly basis or even more. I mean, they have what do they have? They have Assassin's Creed, they have Far Cry,
yeah.
They have Watch Dogs, they have The Division. So yeah, they are quite happy with that development. Question is, are we happy about that, Panda?
I mean, it seems like pretty, it makes sense that it's harder for mid-level guys to come in, and that really sucks. But on the other hand, I feel like the consoles might be harder to get into, but I feel that PC might be easier to get into nowadays with a lot of like Kickstarter, and I mean, regardless of whether it works or not, there's a lot of projects that get funded through Kickstarter and Steam Greenlight and that kind of stuff. So. And I think if those games do well on PC, they have a bigger chance of being ported to console as well. So yeah, I mean, I get that it's hard to get into. I guess the big takeaway from this mostly to creators is don't start on a console game. Just start on PC.
But I think the point is also that you of course you can start on PC, but if you're not one of the big publishers, there's you are probably an indie developer, because indie developers, I think they are okay in this because those two are mutually exclusive. Indie developers can thrive as well in the current climate. But what we saw during for example, the 16-bit era or the PS2 era is that you still had many of these, like for example, a lot of Japanese developers that made, so not the Final Fantasies, but sort of mid-tier JRPGs that could still be very good, but didn't have the budget behind them that the AAA developing companies had.
Yeah,
and these companies have been slowly. I mean, you saw with the transition to the 360 era. Or the HD era, I should say, that especially Japanese companies had a lot of trouble adjusting. And, looking at the current state of the Japanese video game industry, it's a lot worse off, I think, than it was in the past.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's negative to the industry. It's good for the pockets of the four big companies, I guess. But yeah, it sucks. But I don't really know how you can really effectively solve this. I think that the console makers themselves would have to lower the bar, or But yeah,
well, you see some stuff happening like. Nintendo, for example, sponsoring the development of Bayonetta 2, and I think Sony did for Capcom when it came to Street Fighter. Like, even those games, which, well, maybe Bayonetta isn't the best example, but I think it sold decently well across the 360 and PS3. But even that game was in danger of not being made at all. And as was Street Fighter, which is a major franchise, had Sony not footed the bill, they would not have made it. Which is, that these games are now in danger of not being made. That's a worrying prospect to me.
Yeah, it's strange to think about, because Capcom to me has always seemed like the company that can churn out so many games and remakes too, but just also new games pretty consistently, right?
Yeah, but I think it's been getting less as well, and we talked about it recently, where like for example the first what's the last Tomb Raider called? Not Rise of the Tomb Raider, but the one before that.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider?
It was just Tomb Raider. Yeah.
I mean, I sort of remember Square Enix talking about they sold like 4 million copies, but they needed to sell a couple million more to break even. Like if that is the cost of making a AAA game, I wonder how much longer that can last, and if it's a bubble that is gonna burst at some point.
Yeah, I never really, studied any of the sales figures as much as maybe you and Grizzly do, but I wonder if a general or an average AAA game makes a lot of money or not. I assume it does, but when you hear news like this,
it does. Also because they can put a massive marketing blitz behind it.
Yeah. I'm just not really thinking about the mid-level game developers. I am thinking about the bigger studios, and in my mind, I'd never really thought of it the way this thread talks about it, about there only being 4 top publishers and Capcom and Square Enix not being among them. That's just I never really thought about it that way. I guess it makes sense, but yeah, when you think about it like that, it's kind of kind of scary if you like their games. I guess
it absolutely is. Yeah,
I guess Square Enix could team up with Ubisoft and make open world Final Fantasies, one a year. Sounds like a great concept to me.
But those big companies, they start to lose their the studios contained within them start to lose their autonomy, right? I think one of the earliest examples I remember was when EA bought Westwood, the creators of Command and Conquer.
Mm-hmm.
Conquer. And they sort of just disappeared. They sort of vanished inside EA, which is a much lamented development within the industry. But this has happened a lot, when smaller companies get absorbed into the corporate machine. Yeah, Rare, of course, had the soul sucked straight out of it.
Yeah. Oh, so
poor
sad.
Rare. Well, they finished making Connect games, and they're working on the pirate game.
Yeah,
right?
the pirate thing, which apparently is a lot of fun, but
I really hope it works out for them. But current Rare is just, like I said, it doesn't have the soul that it used to have. And those guys
poop.
Moved on.
I said it. It's poop. Take that.
I think they would appreciate that joke. I once back in the N64 days, I visited their site on occasion, and they had a character called Mr. Pants, who there was also a video game about him, and he answered letters from readers, and he talked about poop a lot most of the time.
Well,
good times.
That's the soul that they're losing.
That classic British immigrant hating humor.
Wow. Well, we went there all of a sudden. Okay.
But this week we saw some indicators that how the AAA industry might affect other game creators. And because the second point on our list here is that CD Projekt Red, the creators of The Witcher,
of my one of my favorite games of all time,
being The Witcher 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they may be facing a hostile takeover, or they may be prepared to fight it. This was also a thread on NeoGAF, where they said that they called an emergency meeting, and they will have to vote on whether they're going to buy back their own shares for the equivalent of $64 million US.
Jesus, that's a lot of money.
Yep. So the Polish media apparently is speculating on whether this is a preemptive measure to fight a potential hostile takeover.
So who
Which
is? Yeah, they don't know who.
we don't know. We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. So this thread has a poll as well. So the top 3 votes are Vivendi, EA, and that Chinese chicken company buying all those game studios. Which
Yeah,
I'm not sure I got that reference, but
No, I seem to recall a couple of stories in the last couple of months or something about just a random mobile game maker in China buying up random property or licenses and game studios. So yeah,
that sounds
Witcher mobile
sounds
game.
slightly terrifying.
Woo!
I don't want this to happen.
No,
Needless to say,
no,
because these guys are fine on their own, and they've proven that they're fine on their own.
they're fucking amazing on their own.
Yeah, they don't need no man. Because their games are A, they're great. B, they don't cost as much to make as other AAA titles, and C, they make their money back in spades.
Yeah.
So these guys are fine.
Well, I mean, they are fine, but
They could be better.
I wonder what the company, if the executives at the company are like money and just smell.
No, well, it doesn't look like it. I mean, if they're calling this meeting.
Oh, that's good. That's good news that it's a company that seemingly listens to, or at least talks to its employees about stuff like that. But I mean, it's just speculation at this point. Maybe they are like, yeah, oh, there's a meeting, so what do you think, everyone? I mean, I'm just thinking.
I'm sure that's how it goes. Yeah,
I'm just thinking back
there's
to
a meeting. What do you think, guys?
No, I just had a flashback to when the both of us lived in Japan. We studied abroad at the university, and we lived in apartments that were owned by the university, and the university wanted to make new apartments, and they came up to us with a questionnaire that asked would you be interested in new apartments? New apartments would be swell, right? And then we filled it out, and we were like, yeah, we don't really need. We're fine where we are. And then they came back to us, and they were like, yeah,
no, you're not. You're really not.
You really need to fill in that you want some new apartments. Yeah, so
Yeah, I remember this.
yeah, that
Did
I
we?
just had a flashback to that. So
Did we end up selling our souls?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah,
To the
I mean,
machine?
we're pretty cheap.
Good for us.
Yeah.
Turns out we have questionable morals.
Yeah,
If you
I
didn't
think
figure
they
that
just
out already.
threw in a candy bar or something, and oh yeah,
Oh,
candy bars. Fuck yeah,
chocolate, the brown gold.
yeah. Oh man,
I will sell my soul for a Snickers bar.
But yeah, so I hope it wasn't anything like
But
that.
I don't know how we ended up here.
No, because of the meeting. I mean, just $64 million is a lot of fucking money.
I think it's a little bit more of a hefty decision compared to our, being
Yeah. No,
compliant
I mean, saying that they want to save the company or keep their own shares of the company is one thing, but actually getting everyone at the company to cough up $64 million.
Well, no, I don't think that's how companies work.
I mean,
I think
the money would have to come from somewhere.
Which I assume they have a cash reserve because
I
companies
hope so.
have cash reserves.
I hope so.
So I mean, I assume that they can buy the shares back, but this is a big decision, so you'd have to vote on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, CD Projekt Red.
But from what I see is that
We're
the company
rooting for you.
it was founded 22 years ago. It's still owned by at least one of the people who founded it. Actually, both of them. So I'd say these guys, they probably have integrity. It's not like they have a couple of suits at the top who are just willing to sell this off to make a quick buck.
Right. Well,
I hope they'll be fine.
yeah, I hope so too, because I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. They'll be fine, but it's a worrying trend, and to sort of stay on this AAA tip here, I know both of us have never played Titanfall.
I have
If
not.
I'm not mistaken. Well,
No.
you don't own an Xbox One, obviously. Neither do
Yeah.
I. Grizzly
No
owns
point
one,
in owning
but
one in Japan.
that is true.
Yeah.
Well, you can. I don't know if there's something of a hipster Xbox One community, but anyway, yeah. Titanfall 2 apparently sold a quarter of what Titanfall 1 did, even though it's a good game. And apparently, this is the article quotes it as saying that it was a move by EA to show who has the biggest swinging dick in the industry. So they basically released Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 right after another. Battlefield 1 obviously being the bigger of the two, being the established franchise for more than 10 years now, more than 15 years even. And Call of Duty being released, the new Call of Duty being released as well, of course. So yeah, Titanfall was always going to be obliterated by the other two titles. But
I had
apparently
no
EA
fucking
thought,
clue that it was already out.
what?
That
Titanfall?
Titanfall was out. Yeah. I thought it wasn't out for
Well,
another couple of months.
I guess it wasn't that high on your list of priorities
no,
either.
No,
right?
it wasn't. Although, I mean,
okay.
it does attract me, like the premise of shooters with
I sort
mechs.
of thought it would.
Yeah, I was interested, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this one also came to PlayStation, right? Or is
Titanfall didn't.
No, the first. Oh wait, I think there was a beta on PlayStation for Titanfall 2.
Oh, there was?
I think Titanfall 2 is on PlayStation as well.
Oh, wait, I think you're completely right, yeah.
Yeah, that happens every now and then.
Yeah, this is
It's quite surprising.
a paradigm shift. This is a paradigm shift for us right here.
Yeah,
I gotta adjust.
I didn't play the beta, but I was kind of like, oh yeah, I might pick that up when it comes out. No fucking idea that was already out. So
Yeah,
guess
help those guys out.
yeah, maybe I'll take a look. And you said that it was a pretty good game.
Throw 'em a bone. Yeah, I'll give it my seal of approval, even though I've never looked into it. Yeah, sure.
All right, you heard it here first, folks.
It's good.
Titanfall
Probably.
2 has been out for a while. You heard it here first.
Well, in any case, apparently you didn't know anything about the release of Titanfall 2, so that is some nice first-hand evidence that, that this game did get overlooked by a big part of the gaming population.
Yeah.
The booming budgets of AAA are a worrying trend, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more on the show in the coming weeks and months. But for now, let's move on to the next topic.